speak a little bit about it. In Yon and the Yoma, other speeches on it. The truth is, every person can think for himself, about the situation, try to understand it, try to see what our reaction should be to it. But it's something unusual. It doesn't happen regularly in our times. Unfortunately, if you study the history of the Golas, you see that it's pretty common, these kind of things. People, I remember once meeting a lady, she lived in Poland years ago, and she said that, it was a power to walk down. Anytime you walk down the street, you didn't know what a Polish person would do to them. Anytime they could just walk down the street, anything could happen.
I mean, you said pogrom can start any moment.
Yeah, that pogroms is like, and no, we're talking about even individual. Stand like an individual would just do something to a year. It was just, I don't know. See, I was just saying that this thing happened in Shemitah year. And what does Shemitah teach us? It teaches us bitachon. So it's a very big finish that a whole country stops working the land and depends. Hashem will help. It's like a very high level of bitachon that a whole country is acts out. So this happened because to walk around the street you have to have bitachon of Hashem. Stop worrying. Maybe he's going to come here. People talk about every shul needs guards. No, it doesn't look like we're going to do that. But on the other hand, that's where we should strengthen ourselves in bitachon. Everything Hashem does has a reason. That's something we're supposed to get from. So if we see that situation is such where people are going to worry, so if they strengthen, they need bitachon. So you need bitachon for everything. You need bitachon for parnas, you need bitachon for health. So you need bitachon for this too. Maybe the Rambam says, Kol Beit Yisrael Mitzuven al Kiddush Hashem Hagoy. Everyone is obligated in the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. Shneimar v'kdash b'sof b'nei Yisrael. And of course, you're not allowed to do Chilul Hashem. And he says, if a guy comes and tells him to violate the Torah and on any mitzvah, so he should violate and not get killed. Because it says, but that's other mitzvahs, except what is called Chag Gil Rashi, those three mitzvahs. In Yoma, lo avor alas meyeno, they are gerod gal yavo. Right? So that's the din of gerod gal yavo, and that's the din of Kiddush Hashem. So it's interesting. That's the Rambam brings the Kiddush Hashem. And now we say that people who were killed because they were Yidden are, it's called dying in Kiddush Hashem. And we know it is because it's not necessarily it's there. The person didn't get a chance, get a choice to say whether he's going to do it or because he's threatening him or something. But they knew we were dying in Kiddush Hashem. As I said, this idea of bitachon Hashem, it's a very good sefer. It's called Mikdash Churban, something like that. It's from Moshe Shainim and Shlit. There's a rabbi in Flatbush, Brooklyn, New York, and he says he brings down a lot of stories and a lot of situations, through the Golas, the things that happen. The story here, he brings like two stories. One is from Kedushay Tells, the yeshiva of Kedushay, right? The street is called Kedushay Tells. They changed the name.
Ma'alei Kedushay
Tells. But I'm saying it's basically Kedushay Tells, that street. So he says, so they took the Gedolei Rosh Yeshiva's Tells, about to kill him. So one of the people came to Rosh Yeshiva, Avram Yitzchak Blach. Is that the street name of him? It's not the street. He called Rosh Yeshiva, he was hitting him very serious. In order to give, in other words, he's going to kill him anyway, but he wants to give him a more tzar. He knew he was the Rav, they wanted to do it to him. His head was, gushing out blood. So one of the people said, so Rebbe, where's your God, he says. Why isn't he protecting you? That's what he said. Okay. So the Rav answered, you should know, you're making a mistake. That which you're saying he's mine and not yours, he's also yours. Actually, it's mine and yours. And if he's punishing me, I accept my punishment because it comes. And if it doesn't come to me, he wouldn't punish me. So instead of saying, but what happens? It's min hashamayim. What you're doing after, like Od Mati says, soon you're going to find out, and you're going to get your punishments. And we find out in the Gemara. There's a Gemara in Gittin that when Nero, Caesar, who's a Roman, came to Yerushalayim, and he wanted to see if it's time to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. So what he did is he shot arrows in all directions, and whatever direction he shot it in, it went towards the Beis Hamikdash. And then he asked a child to say his pasuk. He asked the child to say his pasuk. And the pasuk was that Hashem is going to wipe his hands on the enemies who do these kind of things to the Yidden. So Nero says, what? I'm going to do this. And I'm supposed to do it even, and then I'm going to get punished for it. He ran away and became a Gid. So you see that the guy who we punished, remember Victor Miller, and he said, he said like this, the world is plan and purpose. And he always, with nature and all the different things that Hashem created, Rabbeinu, he says that Hashem created the world b'chachma u'b'chesed. So it's called plan and purpose. The whole word is plan and purpose. And what these kind of things, there's no cheshbon. It's just going to happen. And he says, hit the Iman Shemo. He says, I think you'll just take a perfume poison and it's all over. It's not like that. So that's Hashem will take care of it. So he says, He says, the matzav shel harav. Here he's cherev on his tzar. There's a sword on his neck. He says, "Lo rak she'inu b'fachet." He's not afraid of them. El adarabba, that he tells him Hashem is running the world at that time. He says that which happened now is all with the will of Hashem, and Hashem will pay back all the people who will get punished. He says it's called Gvura, the strength, but it's Chayrus. Yeah. He said he showed him that he's a Ben Chori. When he's Makabel his own Esh, he knows everything's from Hashem. Now to tell another story here, there was a very big tzaddik in Europe. His name was the Marchesh. I don't know what his name was, but he called him the Marcheshes. I think he was the Rebbe of Rav Yisrael Gusman, so Zayd Gusman. He was Rosh Yeshiva here, he was in America, he was Rosh Yeshiva here in Yerushalayim. So again, they started hitting him. And he kept, what did he cry out? He cried out. You know what he cried out? You have no control. Even on ants you don't have any control. And everything is from Ratzon Hashem. Yeah. So they hit him again. And he keeps saying the same thing, you can't do anything to me. Yeah. So I'm saying there's an Indian of having bitachon. So in these situations, we should realize that everything's in the hands of Hashem. And I always say that sometimes we wonder, why should big tzaddikim suffer? After all, they don't deserve it. They suffer. Instead of bad people, they should suffer. Why should the tzaddikim suffer? And people have questions. They ask why this and that. Well, later we know that people won the war, they gave it up, and can't judge them. It was very, very hard. But I say like this, that the biggest tzaddik doesn't have any questions. Because he knows that Hashem can punish in this world the most serious punishment for the smallest aveira. And where do you see that? I don't know, it's Rishonim or Medrash somewhere that says that two of the Harugei Malchus, so the 10 Harugei Malchus, say them on Kippur, we say them on Tisha B'Av. So two of them were talking, and one said to the other one, why do I deserve this? Yes. So he said, so the other one said to him, maybe there was a lady, an almana or something, she was waiting for you, you kept her waiting. So he says, he said, you comforted me. And that he understood. Since he sees the biggest idea, there was no kasha. And of course, besides the suffering, it's it's considered a great privilege. They say that if you heard any of these stories about Ramesh Tversky, that he was talking about it. There's a story that they tell in the yeshiva. I didn't get the official story yet from the yeshiva itself. But he was teaching his talmidim, and he was telling them after something happened with a lady that was killed by an Arab. So he said, to die in Kiddush Hashem is the greatest thing, and even greater is to die with Muslims. That's considered. But now there's another story that they tell. This is written in a sefer. Rav Shul Weintraub, it's out of the Bracha, the Bnei Brak. He's an American, big tzaddik. He was in Kuba, and so Rav Tversky was a talmid of his. That was known. So then, at the Shiva, they showed in one of Rav Weintraub's Sfarim, they told a story. Told a story without a name. He said, there's an Avrech Echad who was in the Letter Shul in Bnei Brak. And at that time, probably right before the time to go for it, and that's
91.
So he was in the shul. He was even down in Ishmael Street, and there was silence. So silence, people ran away. I remember those days. Not everybody ran away. Or some people stayed in the basement. But anyway, and he stayed there. So he asked him after, why'd you do it? He says, look, if Hashomi has to go, this is the best way. To be in the Ishmael Street, sure enough he was. So, see, that's the golas that we have to realize, and it's all from Hashem. And I'm saying these situations should help to strengthen our talking now. There's a safer, just lying over here. I figure I'll open it up and see what it is. Silverstein is always good. And sure enough, this is interesting. I see he talks about the situation. He says, he was talking about the peace talks between, the Israelis and the Arabs. So he says, what's the source in the Torah for him? So Sefer brings it like this. In his time, in Sasman Sofer's time, there were very serious bombings on the city of Pressburg. And of course there were Yidden living there. Not any Yid was hurt. Right? That is in Pressburg. We know we saw it in wars here. Hashem should have saved us, but we saw it here. But it says in Pressburg it was like that. So the Anshe Akila, he asked the Chasim Sefer. He says, when are we going to see that like the Gula Shlem? Yes, at that time, and I was connected necessarily to that. So he answered, there are a lot of reasons that there could have been the Gula Shlem. Because the Gula Shlem, or to make peace between us and the Goyim, or it could be a Gula Shlem like by. In other words, he's saying, I think he's saying it could have been like maybe temporary gulas. That's what he's saying, or even like by Sheni, which was not a permanent gula, but Hashem doesn't want it. He says, we would compromise and accept such a gula. According to the situation, it would be much easier. They would not accept this. Only a gula shlema, and it's worth to suffer the gulas in order to be shigula shlema. That sounds like there would be a temporary gula that would somehow hold back the gula shlema. Not like we wouldn't be satisfied with such thing. We only want the gula shlema. Moshe Rabbeinu says didn't even want to take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. He kept refusing. One of the explanations is because he knew that if he takes them out, it's not going to be a Gula Shlema. They wanted a Gula Shlema, and serving the goals. Now, just tell you another word from the Chavetz Chaim. I may have said it here. He says that in our times we need a Gula. Why? Because people, they're not really the way they were supposed to be. So he says, you need a galus. I mean, need a gula. People are getting worse and worse. Like it's in Mitzrayim, Hashem couldn't let them go any further. And he says that will bring a gula. He says, in the time until Mashiach comes, there'll be two extremes. Those are getting better and better. Among them, and the other ones who are getting worse and worse. And they'll both bring the gula. There he says which group you want to belong to. So so he said like this. He said the previous generations, they it was okay for them to be in Golos, and they still made strong. It's hard for us to understand that. A person like Rav Shach, I mean, the situation that he lived in, and the poverty, and still he learned and learned and learned. Just heard a story recently about there was a certain Rav from America, Koshva Rav, who came to visit Rav Shach. They were Charusas way back when she was in Europe. So the Rav came to visit, they had a nice talk and everything, and on the way out, the Rav started crying. And they asked him, why is he crying? He says, why did Rav Shach become what he became, and I became what I became? He was a Rav in America, but not my great Rav Shach. So he tells a story like this. They were learning together, and they didn't have food. They were mamish starving. They didn't have food. And they kept learning and learning. It was 2 o'clock, 2:30. They just kept learning. And, without food. So Rav Shach asked him, this Rav, he said, what if you could have a malach would come now and say and offer you anything you want, what would you take? So the Rav says, I just take a sandwich and a drink or something, and I should be able to keep learning. That's what he said. That sounds pretty good. Shach says, no, I would just ask him to help me continue learning, even in this situation. He says that was the difference, and that's why Rav Shach became what he became. Since then, so the Golos, on the one hand, we don't want, Jew doesn't want to suffer, but if he is suffering, Hashem, it's a very good thing, and it's good for Klal Yisrael, it's good for the world, it's good for everybody. So the Chavetz Chaim says that the reason that the Gula didn't come yet, because those generations were, despite it, they kept strong in the Yiddishkeit, despite all the difficulties of the Golos, and therefore Hashem didn't bring the Gula because to give more schus to Klal Yisrael that they suffered in the Golos. They should have a longer Golos, more suffering, it'll be a Klal. I see my Mitzrayim, at a certain point, Hashem had to take them out. But here, and it could be any time, Hashem could decide. But it says they should have more Golos and more schus. Now maybe means that they'll have schus for Olam Haba. The schus for Olam Haba, the Olam Haba will be greater for Klal Yisrael because of that suffering. So it's the idea of learning. All right, now he brings another story from Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner. Now, I don't know if you have this story, I don't know how many years ago, it's probably 4 years ago, when they hijacked 3 planes to Jordan. And one of them, Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner, was on one of those planes. And he says, we have to teach us what the hatred is of the Arabs for Klal Yisrael. So he told a story during the time of the hijacking. They were like drunk with victory, and they invited the big people, the big Arabs, to visit the planes, to see how we brought back all these captives, Jewish captives, and one of them, who they gave a lot of honor to. So he came over to Rav Hutner, one of these big Arabs, big officials, and wanted to see who he is, what he is. So he says, Rav Hutner said afterwards, Rav means bonus. He says, to understand, he says, the face of this murderer, who's the head of all these terrorists, then he says, you come to Kaparas Avonas Amitis. Then, Kaparas Avonas, to realize what the hatred is and in the end we'll have a kapora from it. He says the Yishmaelim have a very strong hatred. Kivin shelo kiblu birushim Oh, he said very interesting. Why do they have hatred for the Yidden? Because they didn't get any Yerusha from Avraham Avinu.
They did.
Right, he says he gave them.
There's a Gemara that talks about with Ishmael that you will get Eretz Israel as long as the Yidden aren't here. You will get a barren land. Your bris was you ran away. You will get a barren land. When the Yidden come back, you will have to relinquish your right to Eretz Israel for the Jews.
Well, it's temporarily saying they could have.
They got a temporary thing. A barren place is good for them. They don't get a fruitful place.
They must he mean in the long run, because he brings the puzzle. Goresh Oma Azoshi has been on. That's ultimately that Ishmael's not going to get. He says, so he says they got some places. He said, they got, but they didn't get the ultimate. So that's the hatred remains, and they say till the Gula Shlema. Let's see. Right now, one of the things that I wanted to mention, the tikka that we could do. First of all, this it's always been very important to me, but especially now, the hurach, say on Mondays and Thursdays. Look here, the hurach, I said it this morning. Unfortunately, what the problem is, maybe nobody understands the words, maybe, and there's not so much time to say it. But it's unbelievable what it says here, not all the tsaras. And there's two main themes over here. One is the Beis Hamikdash, right? And it says here, save us. Shir Tzomar, he said to eat sheep. Alim Shoban and Ketzat, the anger should not rule over us. We're looking up to you, Hashem. Yeah. It says, Habita v'neim be'es tzara. Hashem, only you're the one who could save us. Yeah. And then he also speaks about the Beis Hamikdash, that's the beginning. Yeah. The destruction, desolation. So I was thinking the connection, the two things that we're asking for. One is that restoring the Beis Hamikdash, and that's the Gula Shlema, and then also our tzaros at this time. So let's do our tefillas. Save us from our enemies. Say all the different problems. Yeah. Your name is called upon us. Don't leave us. Don't abandon us. Don't forget about us. So we see that this tefillah is very important. And I would say, people who don't understand, maybe should say it in English, because it's such an important tefillah. We're asking Hashem. It's a tefillah for the gods. And then one said the Pshat that in the month of Nisan we don't say Tachana. So why don't you say Tachana? It says the reason, because most of the month is in Yom Tovim, the Nisim, and then Pesach. Anyway, okay, don't say Tachana. So I said, okay, Tachana I understand. But Urachon, we should just say Urachon only. Why? Because it talks about the Gula, and Nisan is Chodesh Gula. So we should say Urachon. So I said that the answer is that in Nisan it's even a different avodah. It's not the avodah so much of davening for the Gula, but just waiting for the Gula. Without even davening, just waiting and anticipating and hoping that the Gula will come very, very soon. And so that's Nisan. By the way, the Gematria, we say in the davening, Kivinu kol hayom, and waiting the whole day. For your Yeshua, it says that Kivinu means waiting, hoping. So it's the Gematria of Benisan is Kivinu. That's the job of Nisan. But meanwhile, when it's not, when we do say it, and we should have in mind all the tzaras and everything inside. I think it's the class, it's my opinion. Not in my power to get such a takana. Whoever I meet, I tell them about it. But yeah, it's we should try to take it. Another thing I was thinking of, we should try to have more kavanah in Shemana Esrei. I mean, a lot of people talk about that, about any kavanah, more kavanah in Shemana Esrei, because look at these people. They lived through right. They're supposed to do Chazar Shas. Right? That was the last Shemona Esrei of their lives. Now, it could be, and they knew it. You say something, the big tzaddikim, they know. This is the story about Rabbi Avigdor Miller. He was 92 years old already now. He was in a hospital, so he wasn't in the best shape. So it was Wednesday, and they said to him, "Oh, Mazel Tov on your great grandchild, got a bris." He said on Wednesday, "This one's not going to be named after him, but the one on Friday will be named after him. There's going to be another bris on Friday. The one today won't be." So there's no question. They say the big tzaddik know. So could be they knew, and that the Shemona Esrei was appropriate, but so if it helps us, that we should have more kavanah and say, look, Chas v'Shalom, this might be the last one. It says in Pirkei Avos, Shuv Yom Echad Lefnei Misascha. Do tshuva one day before, a person never knows. And so that's another thing we can work on to improve our davening. Remember, right before Yom Kippur, I didn't give a shul since then, so I didn't have a chance to tell you. So since Erev Yom Kippur, my grandchildren were around, and I figured, I want to give them like something to work on. So you always have to have something to work on. So I said, I'm going to tell you 3 things. Look, it's maybe 1,000 things a person could work on, but I'll tell you 3 things. So one is not to be shakur in the gashmis. Right? Not to be sunk into the physical, material world, and that's for everybody. Yes.